Welcome everyone and happy Father's Day to the fathers out there. We have a father-son double up here to start out our President's Trophy afternoon on Sunday afternoon here in Charlottesville, Virginia. We've got Eric Goldstein, 3 games ahead of the field against his son Noah. Very appropriate for Father's Day. And I'm Clay Daniel and I have my son Knox. So father-son pairing here on the stream. And we are underway as we were working out a few last things here. We've got a strong opening play of Silex, and we'll get the score updated for you here. That was Noah going first against his dad Eric. And again, standings, Eric is 3 games ahead of the field, including the formidable Mac Meller, as well as his own son and Andy Hoang 3 games behind. So we'll see if son can take father down and give hope to the rest of the field here. Knox, welcome.
Thank you. I'll continue working on the stream and the various current issues we are facing. Looks like Pho will come down from Eric. Makes sense, keeping a balanced sleeve. Don't love to keep the V, but I'm not sure I saw a better way for him to get rid of both the F, U, and V. Difficult to do with all those clunky tiles.
Yeah, EITV at least leaves some balance. We've got Noah looking at a rack that almost looks like the word eligible, but not quite. And too many E's in any case.
Yeah, and the L that he was going to play through was blocked by Eric's play there.
Well, eligible would have 2 I's anyway, right?
I know, but if he was going to
could,
try it.
right. Yeah, maybe he did have it set up to try it. That would have been an interesting turn of events.
See, on Eric's rack, he has the bingo of Ventail, which is going to play to the S and Silex, hitting the triple. The Ventails, that will score 80 plus unless Noah can find a way to block it here.
Do you foresee him blocking it? Maybe with a play like Jib or something over the top?
Yeah, I think it's possible.
I'm looking at things through the EX as well.
Yeah, there's Feeble as an option through the FE. Yeah, if he does just go short with something like Beg, then that would block it. Although, actually, no, I don't think that that Eric would be able to play it on top of Beg either. So he does have Beg set up on his rack. Quackle's top choices. It has really not great options here. You could just play Beiges. Doesn't score very well, but gets rid of some of the ugly tiles. Feeble, like I mentioned earlier, and then also Legible from the E. Beg is going to come down though.
That turns out great for the son against the father here. With the ES, the only options to go underneath that would be an S or a T after the 2-letter word ES. And the T in Ventail for Eric is going to be too far within the word for that to work out. Looking at the hooks for FEU being only D and S, it does look like he's successfully blocked it unless there's some sort of fancy 9 with the EX.
There actually is. Not with the EX, but through the GI. I'm not sure if we have chat enabled right now. We'll work on getting that up. But the play through the GI is Vigilante.
Oh, fantastic.
So it'd be amazing if Eric's able to find that. It's certainly not an easy thing to spot.
It would be amazing to see that come down. In the absence of that, with this kind of bingo rack, or what's known in Scrabble as an orphan, that is, it's sitting on your rack. I guess that's a really good word for Father's Day. A Scrabble orphan sits on your rack. It wants to have a place. It wants to have a home. But alas, it does not. So apart from that, might you be looking at something ending ES to blow the board open?
Yeah, there are two plays to the ES. The higher scoring one is Naivetes, because it puts the V on the double letter score. That would be 45, and then Elatives. Elative, a type of verb, I think. Elative would score 36, and interestingly, if he does play Elative, doesn't see naivety, then he would be giving his son the letter he needs for his own bingo of arrow light. We could also see Eric just play short here, so he could just drop his V atop X to make Vex, leaving the strong combination of AEILNT. So he's got a few good options here, but not easy ones to spot.
Yeah, it's a really interesting position when you have a bingo and can't play it and you want to keep yourself set up, but you've got a relatively closed board. As Knox said, if he opens it with a T, he's giving Noah the bingo. So a lot of things to think about. Obviously, Eric doesn't know that, but the more what are called floaters you put out there, that is letters that you can play through, the more you might be giving up a bingo in response, and things really turn on you very quickly. Aerolite is part of a group of what are known as 5-vowel 8s, a commonly memorized group among Scrabble players. It looks like you have a lot of vowels on your rack. It looks like you have perhaps too many, but there's actually a surprising number of 8-letter words with 5 vowels. And since vowels are so common in the bag, 9 A's, 12 E's, etc., those are great words to know. We can be confident that Noah knows aerolite. It's right up there at the very top of the probability words that you might memorize, and he's probably really hoping for a T. Nothing else in that rack, I don't think, right?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. I'm not sure that Eric's spotted any of those higher scoring plays. Look like he might be looking at that over the top of bag. Still a decent option.
Sure, leaving the line on your rack. Very nice setup for next turn. Thinking about it, sometimes players will put words on the board, and then once it's on the board you kind of realize, I don't like the look of a particular part of that. Maybe it's a response that you could see coming from your opponent. So it looks like he's continuing to think about it. No, he has brought down fact.
Okay. Yeah, pretty solid choice there. Scores in the 20s. Yeah, again, would have loved to see Vigilante come down, but very difficult to spot.
Certainly is. So now Noah's in the position where you have a rack that's really only very good if there's a particular tile on the board, and then it becomes much less promising in the absence of that.
Yep. I think I have enabled the chat, but if not, I'll keep working on that.
Now Noah also could extend the word up to the triple word. Now a word ending in TES, as we mentioned. It wouldn't be particularly rewarding to do so with all 1-point tiles, but it is an option. He's holding a lead. It makes sense to avoid such an open board play.
Yeah, I think his highest scoring play is going to be extending X to Exiler to hit the double word, scoring 26. Looks like he does have Allo set up, looking to get rid of some of those vowels. I think that would play on top of TES 8, despite being the past tense of eat. I guess it has another meaning because it does take an S. 8's is a word. And besides that, he could just opt to play OE underneath Silex, just holding a strong leave, looking to bingo.
Looks like he is going with Allo over 8. In case you're wondering, ATE is a blind impulse or reckless ambition that drives one to ruin. I'm hearing Greek tragedy in that for sure. Let's hope that play, for Noah's sake, is not a foreshadowing.
Indeed. Yeah, good play there from Noah. I think the danger that it opens up is primarily the double letter above 8s. That could be hit by a number of tiles. Though Eric's not going to take 8, he's going to go with Noily. Looks like Definitely one of his best plays. Does put the Y in the triple lane, but yeah, gets rid of, undoubles his I, gets rid of the Y, scores well. Like that play there.
Yeah, the Y is not too dangerous at that spot in a triple lane, at least as far as 8-letter words go. That would be a triple triple, or 9 times the amount. Promising tiles for Noah.
Yep, I think he might have calorie set up. I hope he doesn't play that because that's not a word. Yeah, like.
Well, wouldn't that would intersect with few?
Oh yeah, never mind. Yeah, that wouldn't work anyway.
He might have been thinking about it briefly.
Yeah.
No 7s in that group, despite all the letters being the kind that play frequently. And this is a board without many floaters. There's simply not letters to play through, single letters, except for the Y. So at this point, still being a little bit vowel heavy. Noah may want to play to the Y, but it looks like he's coming across over 8s instead to score well with chord.
Yep, looks like a pretty good option there. He's probably not loving that that's what they call blowing up a rack when you're kind of close to a bingo, but then you get rid of a lot of your better tiles. Leaving AI is not ideal. Hopefully you can pull some consonants here.
Also, as you might have spotted if you're observing this game, that would be a stronger play if Noah was holding back an S on his rack, since he has opened up the front hook scored. So we actually have quite a bit more of an open board than we did before that play, leaving the Y on the other side. And Eric will take the high scoring spot, bevy, to the Y.
Yep, scoring 42. Can't argue with that. Actually, that's 36. Never mind.
36, still a strong play.
He does keep an S, a bunch of vowels with it.
Oh, I see picogram in Noah's rack, if I'm seeing the tiles right. A-G-I-M-O-R-P. Not a common bingo. You might find that through the C. That would be an excellent play.
Yeah, he's got both picogram and lipogram from the L and Silex.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean those are much lower probability 8-letter words. It'd be very impressive if he does Noah does come up with that, but definitely a rising young player, but I wouldn't expect a player rated around 1600 to know those. I think needed to be in the 1800s to see those, or most likely.
Yeah, another thing to consider is trying to play longer words, getting the 50-point bonus for a bingo. A good way to do that is to look for suffixes, and common ones like ing, ed, er at the end of words. Wouldn't exactly call gram a common suffix. In fact, I don't even know if we could call it a suffix, more of part of a word, but it's interesting that both of the available bingos had that in it. Strong play, though.
Yeah, it's a nice find with that, making those parallels, scoring 39. Eric, I believe he has 3 A's on his rack, so I think he might just see him play AA at the top here. Yep, that's what he does. It looks like the right move. If he's able to draw a couple consonants, he could very well be bingoing. And with 3 A's, 5 vowels, that's kind of all you can do there.
And in case you're watching this and learning more about Scrabble and wondering about some of these words, how are they staying on the board? Shouldn't they be challenged? Words like AE, PI, MO. These are all acceptable words, and one of the first things that a competitive Scrabble player will do will be to learn all the 2-letter words. It allows for what are called parallel plays, which makes your scoring potential immediately much stronger. So whether you know or not that MO means moment and that PI is a Greek letter, if you know the words, you take a big step forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people would recognize pi as 3.14.
Good point.
But certainly some of the other ones. One of those other ones would be exodoi, extending X to exodoi. the plural of exodos. That would be an impressive find from Noah, and that is his best play here. Haven't seen him look to extend that EX though, so I'm not sure if we'll see that. Outside of that, there's not a lot of great options. We'll probably just see some sort of short play, maybe doe, underneath Silex. Looks like he does have that set up. That would be a strong option.
So making gid and the word LO and then FEE.
Yep. Good play there from Noah.
It opens the board ever so slightly more, but considering that there was already an S spot in front of chord, all you've really done there is made it a better board for a word ending in an S.
Is that a blank on Eric's rack?
Trying to,
I think it is.
if it is, we'll certainly see a bingo come down, AIMORS, and something shining in the light. Probably is a blank.
I think it is a blank. If so, his top option is tricky. It's another gram word, isogram, hooking the S in front of scored, or in front of chord to make scored. So yeah, his best options are to put that S in front of chord. We'll see if he spots that. Gid taking an S as well.
One of the fun things to do with the blank, even though it may not help your scoring, is to make it one of the uncommon letters. An uncommon play here would be making the blank a J for Romagis and Gids. Is he making it a T? Nice
Yep.
find.
Goes with Amarist. Well, his fourth highest scoring option. The blank, unfortunately for Eric, is on the triple letter score. The blank being worth 0 points, 0 triple, still 0. So scoring 68 there, but nice find nonetheless. And Eric will take a somewhat narrow lead. Looks like Noah's drawn into a nice rack though as well. I think he's got demonized set up through that M.
Oh, that could be excellent. He actually had codeines coming down from the C in chord, but Amarist blocked that, so we'll see if he finds demonized.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he has already found it. I think it's a matter of knowing that it can be spelled with an S. Some of those words can't, some can. In this case, the British spelling is acceptable.
Every few years, there'll be what's called there's a dictionary update for the words that we're allowed to use as competitive Scrabble players. In some of the recent ones, we've seen more ISE words added. So it's come to a place where, when in doubt, you probably want to go ahead and try the ISE word. That's the smart play. More often than not, it is, as Knox said, an alternative to the IZE, despite the British spelling in North American Scrabble. Looks like Noah's considering. Here it comes.
Very nice.
Gonna put Noah back solidly ahead, which I will mention. It could put him in jeopardy because I heard from his father before the game that he's not going to get his college paid for if he wins this game. Always enjoyable to play, Eric. You're usually laughing while you're playing.
Eric comes right back with Decurie.
Oh, that's excellent. Plural would be decuries, and an 8-letter word, so it's a good way to learn the word. Sometimes you learn a singular word after having learned its plural.
Yeah, I think that was, he actually had cruddy through the D, which scored 3 more, but taking that dangerous E out, definitely the right option.
Yeah, E sitting in between 2 triple words. Around there we see Fuji on Noah's rack. That is an acceptable word with J. It could play to the S and demonize.
Yep, I think it's highly likely that we see that play. It looks very strong. Pretty ugly rack, but Fuji getting rid of the F, U, J, and undoubling his eyes. Yep, here it comes. It's a nice play.
Fast back and forth here by 2 strong players who know their best play when they see it. Putting the F there as well, even though there's a triple word score right below it, not as dangerous as an easier to use tile in that spot.
Especially with both Y's gone.
Sure.
No IFY suffix. Eric hits right back with another 42-point play off the triple. Weft.
Very nice. Back and forth we go. Good close game. As you get about halfway into the game too, players start to pay more attention to their clocks. Eric's is lower of the two, but certainly not in alarming territory.
Eric's is the higher of the two, right?
Yep, I misread that. You're right. Noah is the lower of the two. He is currently on the clock. So ideally you want to get under 10 minutes, not until the last third or so of the game, especially because what's known as the end game, the last few moves of the game, can often take longer as you begin to be aware of exactly what tiles are remaining, and can be a fascinating back and forth with a lot of strategic positions.
Yeah, Noah's drawn into a consonant-heavy rack here. One play that sticks out to me is playing when through the E and demonize. First E, that is, making ha and no. Getting rid of 3 of his consonants, balancing his rack and scoring some points. And there it is.
WHEN, great.
Finding his another top play quickly. Well done.
Interestingly, that doesn't completely block the D to the triple word. If you end something with EAD, tread, something along those lines, there's still a spot there.
Yeah. Can't quite tell what is on Eric's rack yet.
We've got turn and 3 others. Turn PNT, I believe.
Okay.
So very similar to where Noah was. Consonant heavy. Not a friendly vowel to use with a U. At this point in the game, U's are typically bad tiles. However, there are 3 on the board already, so that is the last U, and the Q still left to be played. Something to keep an eye on. Looks like Noah's drawn into the second blank and is in strong position for his next play.
Yep. And let's see, we're gonna have unpot. Is that valid?
Unpot is valid to take out of a pot. I'm almost positive.
No, it's actually
It's not?
It's puton and punto, but this does definitely sound like a word.
That's right. It is.
Looks like Eric's trying to pull a fast one on Noah here. I mean, it's difficult to challenge those 5-letter words, especially when knowing that your opponent knows more words than you. So I'd be very impressed if we see this challenged off, but I think looks like Eric's already drawn his tiles, so nope. So I mean that does look like it was probably Eric's best option.
I think I was thinking of unpotted. If you're not actually in a pot, that is acceptable.
There you go.
Interestingly, though, no unpot.
Let's see. Well, Noah does have a blank. I'm not seeing any bingos for him at the moment. He would need to potentially start a word with a D or an S, or have it be the second tile. Nostril doesn't quite fit. I would probably be looking at the I and demonize, seeing if he can find something there. But since he already has an I, it's more difficult. And I don't think he has enough vowels to make a play starting with a vowel atop Decuri. There is actually one available bingo, but it's, again, a lower probability one, difficult to find. It's through the I. You want to think about it, Dad?
Sure. Does it start with L?
No, it starts with the blank.
Oh, Merlaton.
Yep, nice.
Yeah, that would be quite difficult to find it, especially when you have the blank, you have to cycle through all the possibilities. There are 26 letters in the alphabet. What could the blank be? That would be quite a strong find.
Yeah, so most likely I think we'll see some sort of fishing play here. Fishing when you're going for a bingo, just playing off one or two tiles. So maybe something like Lex, just hoping to draw a stronger tile than the L in bingo next turn.
Meanwhile, Eric's hoping for a place here as he has Thanker set up on his rack. Not seeing a place where that could go down, however. I should say he doesn't have it set up. He does have it on his rack, and I'm sure he sees it. Keep in mind, you still have the S front hook to chord sitting out there. You'd have to place the S in just the right spot, but that alongside a couple of other places, we could still see plenty of fireworks.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking of that with Nostril. Almost fits there too, one tile away. Again.
Oh, yeah. When you're looking to make a short play like Noah is here probably to preserve bingo tiles, you look at some of your less friendly letters, the I, the L, the O, but you also consider what's left in the bag. If he sees that there are 4 unseen I's, the likelihood of him drawing another may make it more likely to play an I as part of his choice here.
Yep, that's a good point. Quackle, the top Scrabble computer. Obviously, the best play here is Merlaton, the bingo. But yeah, it does like a fishing play next, something like Lex or Lovat, where we saw it come up yesterday as well. Extending VAT, just putting an LO on front. O is a mediocre bingo tile, so getting rid of the L and the O, especially there are stronger vowels as well as letters like R, S, T, N in the bag, which are all conducive for bingoing.
Yeah, those are some interesting choices. Lovat, not easy to see. Lex certainly makes sense. It does, sometimes the word used there is telegraph. It kind of gives away what your tiles are. He's doing something very defensible here.
Yep. Going for it looks like he's
Changing his
taking
mind.
it back. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a reasonable option to play off a couple more tiles. Still getting rid of that LO.
So lion is what he was considering there, making lid and lion. He's pulled those up for the moment. Of course, a disadvantage there is your opponent does know some of the letters you have if you put some out there and then pull them back. Tends to make it more likely they'll come down again. Maybe we'll still see lion here.
Yep, now he's just picked up the L. Wonder if he's thinking about dropping it on top of X.
And he is in time trouble now at this point in the game.
Yeah, so he does go back to lion. And this does open, obviously it closes the I, but it does open another line on top of line if you can start it with a vowel. So he'll be hoping to not pull into too many I's here. I would be worried about, though, given that there are 4 unseen. And we know that there's none on Eric's rack, making it more likely.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what he gets. Okay, doesn't pull another I. He would have liked to have drawn an E, and the duplicated T isn't great, but he might have something there.
Isn't that an L?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's an upside down
Upside
T.
down T.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's turn to Eric here. He's got the luxury of time to consider, but Thanker, not an option for him. He has to know after Lion that Noah is close to a bingo, so how do you think that affects his play here?
Yeah, I mean, he won't want to be opening any obvious lines. Looks like he is going for Anther, which opens an S hook, but again, you have to put it in the exact right spot. So I think this makes sense. And Quackle does seem to like this play, although it actually, interestingly, it prefers it in the higher scoring option above Decurie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I agree with that, though, given that he doesn't have an S. So I think that Eric's spot here might be better.
Yeah, I would tend to prefer Eric's spot as well, and since Noah would have to use his blank as an S, that does not give him a bingo with the blank as an S. There are a few words that can be made. Words like ricotta with a C, tritoma with an M.
Yep, and those will fit on top of the G of Gramp, putting with the A at the end. So if he's able to find that, that'd be impressive. Tritoma, unlikely that he knows that. Ricotta, really hard word to see, but he probably, as long as he's had some Italian food, then he probably knows what that is.
Right. And words that have anagrams, that is words that you can rearrange the letters to spell, sometimes can be easier to remember, since ricotta also spells the word citator, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but sometimes when you're memorizing words, you learn them together and makes it more likely to see a word like ricotta. But he looks like he's going to go with T-A-O and spelling O-W. That's a good play because it opens the board a little more for his blank.
Yep, seems to make a lot of sense. Now that, well, yeah, I think there are still those I's available that he has picked up a second one of, as well as the Z.
And Eric, meanwhile, has a Q, and we know that there are no U's left. So the question is there a U you can play through? Almost, but not really. The U in unpot, not quite going to do it. So that narrows the options to the Scrabble player's favorite bailout, QI, an acceptable two-letter word. Looks like QIS plays in a couple of places. Is that?
Yeah, QIS on making scored. One thing that I just noticed, though, is that I don't think this is going to be blocked. Noah is going to be able to play ritziest down to the T he just opened.
Oh, my goodness.
With the Z on the double letter. That will score 125, or maybe even more. Actually, I think 128 to be exact. But if he's able to spot that will end the game on the spot pretty much.
At this late in the game, there's no way to come back from that. Wow. We'll be looking to see next if he sets it up on his rack in anticipation. He certainly could see it already.
It's a little, Eric playing with his tiles along with the bright light there, a little hard to tell what his exact rack is.
We know he has A, Q, I, and S, but caught sight of a G and a K as well.
Yeah.
It's a really close game, and of course not knowing about Noah's rack, he's got to be thinking of the QIS play here, right?
Yeah, I mean, scoring 33, going up 40, or, well, just 34, he's only up by one. But taking that lead and not opening anything, and in fact closing that lane, he's got to be feeling pretty good about that play. I mean, not loving burning his S, but being able to get rid of the Q late in the game like that for a decent score is, you usually will take that.
And actually, I might have said earlier at this stage in the game, but is it not the case that are the remaining tiles correct there?
Oh, well,
they don't include
an S,
the Z.
not a Z, so clearly not.
But it appears that the bag may be empty. If that's the case and ritziest is the outplay, then that's one of the most exciting ways you can end a game.
Great point. Yeah, I did not realize that there are exactly 7 in the bag, so maybe one problem there with Noah's play of Tau is that it does empty the bag, and that gives Eric, assuming that he's tracked correctly, that he's marked down all the letters that have been played and narrowed down what Noah has, assuming he has done that correctly, which isn't always a given. Then he does know that he does see that Noah has a spot for his super high scoring play of Ritzier, and he has to block that.
And as long as he has the A, that's the pretty clear block of QAT. At least that would be the first option one might look at.
Yep. I think you might be looking at ICAT as well, IKAT.
That'd be interesting. Dropping your I, couldn't that stick you with the Q? I don't see a whole lot of options.
Well, he's still keeping another I.
He's got 2 I's. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't catch the second one.
Yeah.
Even still, though, looking on the board for where QI without an S actually plays. Not sure I'm seeing much of a possibility for it. So it's a really interesting position that Eric is in. He's got time to consider it, knowing he can't let Ritzius go down.
Definitely. And I think that our commentary team has been showing why we are not rated above 1900 because I'm just now seeing the possibility of Ditzier and Feud. So actually, Eric has two giant Noah has two giant potential outplays scoring. Ditzier would be 90 plus. So as long as he sees these both, he's got this game locked up, and Eric is in a really tough position.
Does it help my case at all that I saw Ritzier? Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I pointed out Ritziest, so no.
Yeah, that's true. Ritzier comes in. And I was focusing on the Q play and we're not thinking about other options for his blank. Great point, Knox. Yeah, sun's sitting pretty. And if Eric does see that he has lost the game at this point, assuming he might not want to say much on the off chance that Noah doesn't see both of those plays, but if he's confident he does, he's probably lamenting out loud at this point.
Yep, or if he is trying to be coy, which is not a word I would use to describe Eric, he might try to block one of the plays, hoping that Noah is unlikely to see one of them. Maybe he's not sure of Ritziest or Ditzier. Or he could just, since there are two threats, he could altogether just completely ignore them and go for his best non-blocking play of cheese and scored.
He does. That actually might be the right play here because he does want to think about spread. He's 3 games ahead of the field, but if he loses here, he'll drop to 2 games ahead. And there are other competitors who have equal or higher spread than Eric. Andy appears to be in an even 1,000 spread. Very impressive. I'm not sure that's completely up to date, but definitely sets himself up as a competitor over the last 4 games.
I think Eric, you see his pen over the board there. I think he's confirming his tracking. Often, I might have an extra letter or I'll be missing a letter, so I have to go back and count how many E's there are, for example. Make sure that I've crossed off the correct number. And Eric definitely wants to confirm here that he knows his son's rack, given how powerful it is.
So although we had some concern about Noah's clock, doesn't look like it's going to be an issue. He's had plenty of time to think about his options, and as we said, maybe smiling either internally or externally. What a great place to be for a Scrabble player, especially against your dad.
Definitely. It's a good feeling.
I mean, I will say that there's nobody I'd less like to beat than my own son, but I'd still rather win than lose.
Same here. Okay, looks like he is going to block with cat. I think that is his... technically, cats, I think, is his best option since this is going to be his last play. Might as well take that 1 extra point. But this does make sense.
Actually, I'd keep the S because your only chance to win is if he doesn't see the bingo.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're only gaining a few points of spread, so...
Right.
Let's see. Noah hasn't set anything up on his rack. Oh, no, he's looking at ZD. I'm not sure that he's seen it.
Interesting. Well, that was the better block for Eric. I think Ritziest, easier to see. Ditzier if you have to make the blank the D.
That's true.
4 minutes for Noah to find Ditzier if he is not already.
Thing about cat is it only scored 12 points, so ZD, I think ZD should definitely still win for him. ZD scores 28, which will put him up 15, and he'll certainly be able to go out for a decent score with RE blank, whereas Eric is still holding the ugly GIIKS. So either way, he should be fine.
Mm-hmm. At the end of the game, what you're thinking about is how many plays can I go out? Because when you go out, you get double the points on your opponent's rack. So that is the other thing, as Knox mentioned, working against Eric, GIIKS, barring some miracle. is not going to go out in one turn. There's no N on the board to play skiing.
Mm-hmm.
He can score with that S, but the inability for him to go out in one probably decides the game, even apart from Ditzier.
Yeah, when you are in a position like this, behind, but looking like you've got a good chance, Noah probably going through calculating, thinking, okay, ZD scores 28, that'll put me up this much. How much can I go out for? What's my dad's best play? There's always many things to consider.
And we do know if ZD puts him up by 15, Eric will be able to go back ahead with some sort of play using his S. So Noah does have to calculate carefully. He has quite a few options for the clear win, but he's going to try to use all the time available to him.
I think it's going to come to the top.
There it is, putting ZD on the board to go up by 15. Unfortunately, that Eric had to play his A for QAT because the A next to the Z there would have been KA and ZA. Would have been very high scoring. Now that scored is blocked, what's the best option for Eric? Is it going to be Anthers and Ski?
Yeah, I saw that he had ski set up on his rack. I think that will be the strongest play. Yeah, he doesn't have anything with the Z.
One other thing we didn't mention is, let's say for the sake of argument that Noah actually did see Ditzier and just feels about 95% sure. In that case, he could calculate, I'm going to win either way, so let's take the certain win.
Yep, yeah, that's definitely a possibility. And if he did feel that way, then that is a smart choice, because even if you are 95% sure, then you're losing the game, and potentially losing the game in 5% of those scenarios.
But then another variable in the back of your mind is spread. How much is my point spread going to change? That is always secondary. You always need to make sure to get the win. But if you can, he could have been thinking about that as well. So a lot of things to consider. But with RE blank, he's got a number of options, even with only a minute and a half on his rack after Eric plays. He should be able to find something to come out on top.
Yep. I think his top option will be Era, making Za, making the blank an A.
Yep,
Assuming that Eric does go with Ski.
28 will be more than enough. 24. Ski comes down. No, he picked it back up, I guess. Still considering. Really great that we got a good close game between father and son.
Yeah. Most of our games were either blowouts or pretty clear who was going to win the whole time. But yeah, this nice close game. Pretty low scoring affair too. Mostly a closed board. Only one bingo each for them, I think. Usually you see games between high level players finish with at least one person in the 400s. It is pretty rare to see both players score below 400, especially below even 370 or so, or however this game will finish.
Yeah, I think you had some relatively long words played at places, even though non-bingos, and for periods the board was closed. There's also, in a close game, wanting to keep it closed, and so often you'll end up with a lower score when that board is closed in a back and forth match like this one has been. All right, Ski again looks like going to be finalized this time. You can see their hands coming over the board at different places. They're likely discussing here at the end. Sometimes if you know you have time to finish the game, it might be a little conversation, especially if it's father and son. Ski puts him back ahead by
9.
9. Okay.
And then looks like Noah's gone out with Sir, making skis, hitting the triple for 13, giving him a 10-point win. Close game. Well done, Noah. Not a very nice Father's Day present, but hopefully he'll get him a card or something later.
That's right. Maybe we'll see him again. That puts Noah in an even stronger position, probably in the top 3 at this point. So he's having a fantastic tournament, and what fun to overcome your dad and stay right in the running.
All right. I think we're gonna take a lunch break now, right?
No, we have one more game before lunch break,
Okay.
and we do know we're going to see Eric again, which makes sense. He'll still be in first place by 2 games against Andy, who is playing really well, has the highest spread at this point, so should be terrific. Tune back in just a few minutes. We'll be back as soon as we can. Welcome back, everyone, to the last round before lunch of the President's Trophy. Let's see, this is round 15 out of 18 here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Here on Father's Day, your father-son pairing of Knox and Clay Daniel. And we have an exciting game, really the best one we could see at this stage. Eric Goldstein was threatening to run away with this one until he ran into his own son last round, dropped him to his second loss. And so Andy really probably in the best position to catch up. Ryan Fisher also at 10-4, and Noah, Eric's son, 10-4 as well. Mac Meller lingering at 9-5, along with Eric Harshbarger. So with 4 games to go, quite a bit of options. We'll see Eric go first in this game with a chance to put himself in an almost unbeatable position with 3 games left. Should be a great one.
Yeah, he's one tile away from a lot of bingos here, but don't think there's anything in that rack.
Oribi comes to mind right away as a 5-letter word.
Yep.
Looks like maybe he's going to do Bonier.
Yep, opting to play longer. Slot the B on the double letter, go for points. Solid choice. It might lead to a more open board in the long run, we'll see. Andy, from the tiles that we can see, got some ugly stuff.
Adeiuy and an N. That helps a bit. Still going to have to play through that. Probably try to unload that U and Y if possible to build toward a bingo.
Yep, I mean, he could just go short with Ryu. That's probably a little too simple. Maybe Yod. Quackle suggesting Bunya from the B. Bunya.
One correction on the standings, I did misspeak. Overlooked how strong Ryan Fisher's spread is, over 1,000 to put him in second place. So we may well see Ryan after lunch on this board with a chance to be right in the thick of it.
Uh-oh. I don't think that's how you spell body.
That is correct. That is only D-A-U-B-Y. So we'll see what Eric thinks about B-A-U-D-Y.
I think he's already stopped the clock. Yeah, he's challenging. Wow, okay. So easy to do. Mixing up B-A-W-D-Y, I believe, is the correct spelling. And there's also a similar word in those set of tiles, Dobby. Definitely easy to confuse there. And Eric was not confused. He knew it right away, and we will see body come off the board, giving Eric an extra turn.
That's a big move here at the beginning. Leaves a lot of open spots for Eric. We'll see how his tiles shape up.
Immediately plays Inoki. Looks like he might be having a duplicated E, I, and O, so that looks like a great play. Oh, except he's taking it back now, as he often does.
When you play Inoki, you can consider icon or koine, the two anagrams, but
this looks like a better option.
I like that option quite a bit.
Scoring more points and shedding an extra O as well.
Very strong play, leaving yourself a better leave.
Yep. That's big because if Andy did play something like Bunya, taking that B, then that would have stopped that, and he would have had to go with the inferior option of Inoki.
Right, and Eric's probably not too worried about opening the board even further with Bookie. He's seen that Andy has a U and a Y and was not in a position to bingo last turn, so he's stuck with those same tiles. Eric knows 4 of those tiles. Can confidently play Bookie and have a solid lead to start out.
Yeah. Let's see. Score should be updating. 46 that Eric has to Andy's 0. I wonder if Andy currently has Yin set up on his rack, which looks like a decent option next to Bookie, although really a poor leave. I think I'd rather see Uke or Uked come down here.
I'm looking at Tenorino for Eric if Andy doesn't block.
Oh.
He has.
I don't think he's going to be able to, right?
Not if he plays Yin, which does seem like the right play here. Oh,
Okay, he goes shorter with the Ya. I think that's probably
Okay.
better than Yin.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping another consonant. Quackle does agree. I think that and Uked probably a toss-up. And yeah, good shout there about Tenorino. Given that there's two N's in the word, it will not be blocked, and Eric is playing it right away. Strong start from Eric.
Really is. When you find the only bingo that's there for you, that's can be a real game turner. Good find.
Yeah, we'll see if Andy can pull some decent letters here. Eric does give him some floaters there. I think L for indulged isn't going to be there.
And he does have an ing.
Yeah. Okay, he's going to have the high, I think his last tile is an E. So I think I'll have the high scoring play of denuding through the N of Tenorino. We'll see if we can find that.
Yeah, that'd be very strong. Ungirded.
Yep, ungirded
The R.
the other bingo option. There's two R's he can play through. One of them scoring slightly more.
Confident Andy will find all or most of those options.
Yep.
And you can set up ing on your rack and just arrange the remaining tiles. That makes it a lot easier to find what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think he does have ungirded set up. That is denuding, kind of definitely a weird word, not something you hear every day. So ungirded, more common.
Yeah, he'll continue to look almost certainly.
Yeah, definitely big to get the bingo done here, though. Given that he's lost a turn and Eric's already bingoed, he really needs to hit back. I think we'll probably see ungirded played in the to the R through the R of bonier, putting the D on the double letter. Also, actually the U. Both plays are actually pretty defensive. I thought the U would, if played through the R in Tenorino, I thought the U was gonna be in the triple, but I don't think it is. But
he did find denuding.
Yep, doesn't matter because he's found the best option. Well done. Denuding will score 76 and get him right back in this.
Nice job, Andy. Eric's rack looks actually relatively promising, but there are no 8s with the 7 letters that he has. Nice open board though, with an E next to a double letter, a D below a triple word, an E below next to a double word, and some parallel options next to denuding. A lot to think about here for Eric.
Yep, I think that we'll the word arepa through the E of denuding, making 4 parallel plays is the top option. Definitely tricky to spot though. Kind of a weird word, and also slotting it in there, making 4 other words. That would be an impressive play if Eric is able to find it.
That would be lovely. One possible phony hook here would be putting an R on the end of bookie, which I found I've often wanted to do and having to remind myself that there is a 7-letter word. It's not bookier though, it's brookie. So hopefully both players aware of that only an S will go on the end of bookie. But sometimes when you have a word like that and you think about Y endings, there are tons of words that end in Y. Why wouldn't B-O-O-K-Y be one of them?
Yeah, and speaking of the Y, I saw that Andy had, we can't quite see his 7th tile, but I saw that he had O-R-D-E-R-L set up.
Orderly?
Yeah, so I'm wondering if the Y is his last tile and he has orderly, which would play on top of bonier.
It looks like he's alphabetizing his tiles, so it
certainly possible.
Should be something after the R.
Yeah.
Still unlikely, but it could be.
We have gotten confirmation from our tech man Mike that It isn't. Oh, actually, we are seeing the R hook. You're right.
All right, call me a prophet. Let's see what happens with this. Very interesting. Parrot and the phony book ear.
Let's see. I think even if Andy does know this is a word, I'm not sure it's even in his best interest to challenge it off. Or this gives him a great place to play it orderly.
Sure does.
Because Mike did confirm for us that the Y is his last tile. So interesting decision here for Andy, whether he knows how confident he is that book ear is not a word, and also thinking about how orderly increases his own score.
Yeah, if you don't challenge it off and you have to play orderly into the triple lane, do you challenge even if you're 100% sure? I think probably, but it's at least a decision.
Yeah, is parody a word? Like a parrot? That's what orderly would open.
It is a word, parody.
Okay, so that would give him a nice play. So yeah, I think this. Bookie, you're definitely a hard word to challenge. Seems plausible, and I think Andy making a good decision here. Quickly playing orderly.
Go with what you know, and your opponent is drawing 6 tiles, which is typically does not lead to a bingo after a play like Parrot, because there's more variability in that rack. So, very good decision, unless you're 100% sure about book ear.
Yep, looks like Eric's picked up the Q.
He's got QAT on his rack, and a spot for QI above the
He's got a nice spot for QAT, and he will play it underneath Parrot for 42. Perfect. So that sequence actually working out pretty well for him.
Stays right in the game. Yep.
Yep, that gets him with an 8. We'll see what Andy's post bingo draw is. See a couple A's as well as a W.
One other thing to consider here, a lot of ing words, certainly not the majority of them, but quite a few of them, hundreds of them do take an S. A lot of kinds of words that you wouldn't necessarily think, like the word knowing. We already have the word knowledge, but the word knowing nevertheless takes an S to make knowings. Denudings does seem quite unlikely, but you have to at least think about it with double word sitting there.
Yep. Looks like Andy's considering either ah or awa on top of orderly. That looks strong. Getting rid of, actually awi even better. I think he's got 5 vowels on his rack, so awi would be a great play, scoring 30 plus, and he's got 2 T's. Okay.
That actually makes it, or even just AWE. With 2 E's, probably better just to keep the other E.
Yeah, I would think so. It looks like he is playing his second E for 3 extra points.
Well, there are 2 blanks in the bag, so maybe thinking get a little more turnover, give himself a chance at one of those blanks.
Yeah. There's a decent amount of E's played already, though, so I think I probably would prefer keeping that E, but overall, definitely that looked like his strongest option in that area, and he has picked up a blank.
Worked out for him. Eric, not a great rack, does have the J, so possibilities of scoring a strong intermediate play here.
Yep, he's gone with Joel over top of Parrot. Looks strong. He's CEL, about as well as he could do there from that rack. And now he's pulling some better stuff. I see an A and 2 S's, so he's getting closer to bingoing.
Nice play. The J not at all dangerous there in that spot, unless you have something crazy like Svaraj, S-V-A-R-A-J.
Indeed, and Tolarjev, yeah. So Andy would probably be looking to play something like Fax. Looks like there's a couple decent X spots on top of denuding. Oh, actually, he's got just Fix and through the eye of Bonier.
Oh, that's a really nice spot. I think he'll actually probably Fixed. Go ahead and add the T since he's got 2 of them.
Yep, yeah, I like that. Oh, he's actually got a bingo here.
Does he?
I wasn't even thinking of
Is
that.
it after tax?
It's after tax, yep, through the R. Tenorino.
That's right, I was
Wonderful spot that.
looking at the other R.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really great play. Although I'm not even sure it's worth it. I think I would probably take the 50 for fix or fixed.
agreed. If you don't get the X on a colored square there with that bonus square with after tax, yeah, well, probably wouldn't do that. Only thought maybe in its favor. You are ahead by a little bit before after tax. You're up by more than a bingo. Playing more tiles, drawing for the other blank.
Yeah. Quackle does slightly prefer fix and especially fixed to after tax. I imagine that we'll see one of those two come down. It's something that
Fixed.
Yep.
Yeah,
fixed,
great
very
play,
nice.
Andy. Yeah, that's really strong there. Close down the board a little bit, but put yourself really a bingo ahead, or just about.
Looks like Eric is hitting back with another phony of cageless.
Wow, cageless. Why wouldn't that be good?
Very, very plausible.
There's so many LESS words as well, including laceless. That could have been an option here, but really interesting to see what Andy will think about cageless.
Yeah, given that he's got a strong rack, I think I see Eric drawing already. He's got a strong rack and is likely bingoing on this turn or very soon. Yeah, Eric's already drawing.
All right, so Andy didn't even hold. That's completely understandable. Cageless seems plausible. You're drawing to blank ATE, I guess it was. Looking in great shape. Acetated maybe through the T up top. Just
Yep, nice.
sure there might be some other options.
Yeah, looks like the highest scoring one will be backhated through the C of cageless, putting Andy's own C on the triple letter. That will be 86. Other options include the previously mentioned acetated, as well as lactated and actuated, all through that T of Tenorino. But yeah, backhated looks especially strong. Difficult word to find, not one that I knew. But both more defensive and scores a lot more.
Yeah, backhated rated in the not in the top 26,000 words in probability among the eights, and there's only a few little over 30,000 eights, so not a word we could expect Andy to know, but he can knock our socks off if he plays it.
Yeah, as we had Andy on the stream yesterday as well, and mentioned how he is a med student and probably doesn't have time to get into the 26,000 eights.
Maybe with all the spare time you'll have as a doctor.
Right. Saw Eric set up Hafiz on his rack. Almost fits really nicely next to cageless, but not quite.
Not quite, with SA not being acceptable. It's a shame. But we'll see what Andy gives him here. Mike pointing on the chat, yeah, cage free may be better than cageless.
There you go.
Even that is hyphenated.
Eric has made all his plays, almost all his plays quickly, so he's got the time lead, sitting pretty with 19 minutes, although he is behind on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I'd rather be in Andy's position, but if you're going to be a bit behind, that's a good spot to be.
Sorry, the score hadn't updated actually. After cageless, he goes up. I think if Andy finds the bingo, then he'll be right back down, about 60. But yeah, still in good shape.
I mean, with acetated and what did you say, falcated?
Actuated and lactated.
Actuated, lactated. Yeah. Okay.
I think this is lactated.
Lactated. Great job, Andy.
Yep, and that is the more defensive of. We'd rather not put the A in the triple line, so it's a great play.
Yeah, he may well have seen acetated as well, and wisely chosen not to put the A right there.
Mm-hmm. That would actually putting the A there would have allowed Eric to play Hafiz for a huge score.
Right.
Although I think this is Eric is probably gonna hit him right back with Fizz
Over top,
on top,
ED and
that will
lactated.
score 59 and keep well too. So
Great game. First two games today, really close, and quick back and forth with some bingos and really strong plays. Eric will probably think, although I'm sure he sees Fizz, think twice about leaving the triple line open before playing.
Yeah, I think that will probably be his only concern. I would expect to see this come down at right around 18 minutes, if not sooner.
He's of course looking in the vain hope that the Z could play on the double letter below the L, but
right,
not going to work out for him.
Yeah, at least you never want to see your opponent bingo, but it's always nice when you have a 60-point play to come back with immediately. I think it's 59 technically, so assuming he does play it, then he'll be down by 1, and Andy has pulled the other blank.
Interesting. Okay, so Fizz is being played, but a very dangerous spot still open with the L immediately under the triple word score. However, Andy's got a lot of consonants, so we're not going to see a bingo here. We will, however, see pretty high scoring play most likely.
Yep, he's got the L to work with. There's also the S of cageless, which pairs very nicely with both players' H's actually. And the spot above a we that Andy made earlier is dangerous as well with that double letter and double word.
Even with all those things in mind, I don't see anything great for Andy right off the top, either through the L or coming from the S in cageless.
Yeah, same here. Let's see, Quackle is suggesting just something like hop through the O of open O of Tenorino. Scores 30, gets rid of one of your 4 higher scoring tiles, or something like. You could also play hom there, or a hem through the H, the A and the E of lactated and denuding.
How do you feel about Hop leaving that L open after Eric's play of Fizz? What does that tell you, and how do you think about that?
I mean, it's hard to know what Eric has after Fizz. I mean, you're not going to be turning down too much with 60 points. I mean, you can assume a few things, I guess. That he
Not many, though, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, don't love leaving that L open, but it's not the most dangerous tile that could be put there. And really, I'm just not really seeing much that he has there. So if you don't have anything there, it's not worth sacrificing that much by playing something bad like Plan, for example. I think I really like Andy's play here of a hem.
That's lovely.
Looks solid. Yep.
Yeah, after Fizz, Eric could have left AERT on his rack, or he could have left VUWG. We just don't know. You're going to take that 59. So you got to hope for the best here if you're Andy. Get a nice lead again. Eric does have a good rack.
Yep, and looks like he's going to plop down Swith immediately. Both Swith and Swath good. And that looks like a very strong play. I wonder if he's considering... Yeah, I think playing the I there is the right decision as well. A, probably slightly better than the I, and especially with 3 I's unseen to him, Swith looks like a very nice play.
Yep, lovely leave. That's the way to go. Once again, it does leave the L open, but these players are making the best plays. Eric needs to stick with Andy here and put himself in the best position for next turn.
Yep, that gets him back into the lead, 13 up.
Does Andy have paving plus blank? I think that last letter might be a G.
Yeah, we can see that. Yep, he does have paving plus blank. Let's see. And there's already an open I.
Nothing with that. Doesn't actually. Vaporing. No, that's 2 A's. Vaporing won't go down, it doesn't look like.
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, there's no bingos for him here. Gotta imagine that he'll spend a lot of his clock looking now. Because especially when you're being streamed and you have a blank, you want to be seeing every possibility, and it's definitely going through your head. Oh, am I missing something? Are they, is the stream see it? Why,
right?
Why haven't I seen it? Those thoughts can get in your head. So Quackle's a couple of suggestions. It has you definitely want to get rid of the P and the V here, and then you'll almost certainly bingo. So something like Vapor or Viper to the ER in Awi and Orderly looks strong. I think we might eventually see that come down, but again, I think Andy will definitely take some time here to think.
Yeah, hard to overestimate the feeling of pressure you have. Now, granted, this is a local Charlottesville tournament. There's such thing as a live stream
Right.
at nationals, but that consciousness that people are watching should be all the more impressed by good play when we see it. I remember my first live stream experience. I got matched up against multinational championship winning Joe Edley.
Oh man.
Could not have been more nerve-wracking. Fortunately, I did what's called bagging someone when you draw all the good tiles, and even though I made several mistakes, managed to come out on top. But that, needless to say, the sweaty palms as you're considering what your blank might be. There's
Yeah, we're up to 26 viewers now, so that's one of our higher numbers.
So really nothing even still that's worth playing through the L, I guess, in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't quite have the right things to hit it. There's maybe if he had a U for plug, but I mean, again, plan not really worth it.
Right, leaving V and G, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, so I think unless he comes up with a phony ing word perhaps. I think that paver, vapor, viper, or maybe another dumping or fishing play is what we'll see.
Yeah, I wonder what good phonies might be here. In paving, pavening.
Yeah, vapiding, I don't know. Sounds not great.
Jackson points out on the chat, option to leave 7 in the bag, which means if Eric were to bingo after this, he'd have to pick up 7 more tiles, and that means Andy could bingo out and certainly win with that sequence of plays.
Yep, good point. I think it's interesting deciding between Viper versus playing the I versus the A. You'd think you want to keep the I and G together, but there is already an I on the board and 3 I's unseen.
Right. I think I would probably burn the eye.
Quackle actually does. I would be tempted to think the same way, but Quackle.
Likes paver and vapor.
Yeah, Quackle disagrees after almost 2,000 iterations into a sim.
Yeah, interesting choice. Wonder at this point if he's gotten down to that place and he's weighing those two options.
I mean, it's possible he hasn't even seen that. There's a lot of places to look on this board, and through an ER is not what you might first think. I think it looks like he's got GIV set up on his rack. I think that might be, maybe he's thinking of Giver, which would also be another good option. But I think that the synergy you have at the end, the G, and with the I open on the board, I think that you definitely want to get rid of the P here. P can be solid for bingoing, but definitely not as good as the G with the synergy you have.
Agreed. Looks like that's what he's going to do, Giver.
Yep.
Leaving PAN blank should, more than half the time, you'll have something nice after that. It really what it depends on, if you're looking at the unseen tiles, there's UUV, so that's what you're worried about with Andy, or possibly too many eyes. If he can get any semblance of balance with the 3 he draws from the bag, he should be in great shape. Trying to capture Eric's rack. Have you managed to see any?
I should have been looking at it before. We were focused on Andy's turn. Let's see. He just played fit. Or he just plays with, right? So he left ANS after that.
He did leave ANS, yeah.
So you would imagine if he's got a bingo, then he probably would have already played it. Andy spent a lot of time on that turn, so.
Well, except that the bag's empty after this, right?
Good point. That's true.
Eric does want to track and make sure he understands what Andy has.
Right. I mean, yeah, he won't be able to tell exactly.
Sure. Right, thanks. Okay, so if Jackson's right with his rack, it's not a bingo rack.
Yeah, really unfortunate draw there, leaving an ANS pulling clunkers. Yeah, so I'll definitely want to get rid of those. Just goes with them.
Okay, makes sense. Gotta get rid of a couple of consonants there. got to be worried, assuming Andy probably has the blank at this point, but you've got to give yourself a chance to bingo or else it's going to be game over anyway.
Yeah, I wonder if Maven there was a better option through that eye.
Get a little more turnover.
I mean, mainly just for the score, but yeah.
Looks like Andy does not have a triple. We're looking at A, E, E, and P, S blank with that L spot still open. Nothing playable through the L. So he's probably going to be looking at the other side of the board. The T looks very promising.
Yep, as well as the I. I think his highest scoring bingo is going to be coming down from the H, if anybody wants to find that in chat.
Two anagrams of each other, the only things available coming from the H. Little low on time, so Andy's going to want to make a play probably here to at least 2 minutes left or so to give himself some time to think. He's has his hand in the bag, which he's counting how many are left, confirming that there are 7 in the bag. So a lot to think about. He knows he's going to be drawing 7 and could be put in a bad position with what's in the bag after a bingo. So he's going to want to leave himself time.
Up to Eric's play, he'll only be drawing 5. Right?
Right. Oh, you're right. 5 in the bag. Okay. The bingos from the H harder to see. Haptenes and heptanes. Many more available through the T. So a pretty good chance we'll see something through T or I here. Something like Naperies through the I.
Yep, both penalized, spelled with an S, and its anagram Cephaline.
Suggestion from Jackson, even foregoing the bingo, knowing that Eric is unlikely to. Also a possibility.
Yeah, and right now the Quackle is actually preferring the lower scoring bingos of Naperies, Cephaline, and Penalize to heptanes, I think because the H is just a far worse bingo tile in general than the I and the T.
Mm-hmm.
So playing one of those blocks up the I and the T, which will make it more difficult for Eric.
Yeah, and at this point, Andy probably didn't look too long with the L. A triple would be wonderful and obviously a game clincher, but you got to make sure you get a bingo down with your clock low, either this turn or next one.
I think
Got a
we
good
are
Naperies.
Yep. Yep, definitely one of the top options. Does place the blank on double letters, scoring slightly lower. Actually, all 3 of them, Cephaline and Penalize, all 3 of those place the blank on the double letter, so it's not a consideration actually.
Guess not. And at this point, Andy knows, okay, either Eric responds with a relatively unlikely bingo, and I lose. The odds are with me otherwise. I've left some time for the end game.
Wow, look at that draw.
Ablings, is that what he has on his rack?
He has, yeah, so Andy pulls 3 U's, and that just blocked.
Oh, so close to ballsing. If the L were 1 spot lower, Eric would be going out with a triple if he saw ballsing. But Ablings doesn't play, does it?
Nope, and there's actually no bingos, so Napery's a huge play of blocking, blasting. Stabling is good, right?
It is,
Stabling
yeah.
would have been high scoring.
Right.
I think that's going to be the game clincher for Andy. Our streaming computer is at 3%, so I will go try to find the charger.
Yeah, we may be sitting here a while because Eric has 15 minutes to think about this one.
Yeah, can you look in those bags to see if it's there?
So yeah, if you're sitting here worried about Andy's rack, you know that he can take consolation in the fact that despite the long time to look at it, Eric's not going to be able to find a bingo here. So it looks like Napery's likely to have given him the game despite what was left. This is one of those games where you look back at it and think about a lot of what ifs. You've got the phonies with Cageless and Book Ear. Both were very defensible at the time to leave on the board.
Yeah, I mean, Eric's probably looks like he's gonna come out with a loss here despite getting 2 phonies by and winning the early challenge with, what was it, Body?
Body, B-A-U-D-Y, right? Misspelled.
Yeah, but Andy fought back and got both blanks. That always helps. See, I think Andy's had 4 bingos, 2 naturals as well, so very tough to beat that. Eric's done well to get by with Parrot and his phony, which ended up setting up his cue for a strong score, and then Cageless as well. So really can't fault him for this game. If he hadn't phonied, it could be very different. It could be a blowout instead of almost a win.
Yeah, when you go up against four bingos plus fixed for over 50, that's going to be a win, a very narrow percentage of the time. But he was this close. If blasting or stabling could have been there for him. Would you try something crazy like blashing here?
Maybe.
Only shot?
Yeah, I mean, he's still 2 games ahead. I mean, it'll be at this point at least. I don't actually know yet if we're going to a finals format with a best of 3 or if it's just going to be a regular, top record, top spread. So it really doesn't matter if he's good because he'll be going to the final if we are doing that. We'll get that confirmed for after lunch.
It'll be exciting if it is a final. It's not a guarantee that it'll be these two, depending on what Ryan did in his game.
Right, and even Noah,
And even Noah, if he won by a lot.
I assume Ryan and Noah were playing, right? So, if so, then the winner of that one would be. Yep, they're playing. So the winner of that one. I guess Noah's spread is so much lower. Ryan would have to be.
Mm-hmm.
Would have to win to overtake or to stay ahead of Andy.
We said this yesterday, but Andy's doing a lot at this tournament. He's been responsible for the food. He had the initiative to gather some of us to set up a live stream and seek to up our game here with our Charlottesville tournament so that others could watch and enjoy the Scrabble. So the fact that he's doing as well as he is, pretty remarkable.
Yeah, assuming Eric isn't trying a bingo, some of his top plays you might be considering. He's got Blags through the L and Lactated, and then several parallel plays next to Napery's like Basil and Basin, and I think the best one would be Sabin or Sabin, anagram of Basin. Yeah, he's probably, he certainly saw blasting and stabling. And he's probably looking through the H, and then the A and the L are really the only other things to look through. Yeah,
there's an acceptable word, B-A-L-A-S. That'd be little hope that would take an ing, be some sort of verb. It's just a noun, but you're grasping at straws at this point.
Yep. Well, if he is able to find one of his top plays, then Andy might be getting a little worried. I mean, he does have 3 U's on his rack. He's certainly not going to be able to go out anytime soon.
Yeah, there's not an A in the right position for U-N-A-U to dump 2 of the U's. Really slim options for Andy.
Actually, I think that I was using Quackle wrong, and Eric's best options are going to be to play something alongside Napre's that then sets up higher scoring play along the triple. So something like lag or bal or bin that gives him an S hook. That would make the game, I think, within about 20 points. But still, no way to win, assuming that Andy doesn't phony again or something crazy happens.
Yeah, and then lag would have to go up higher on Napre's.
Right, yeah.
So bin lower down.
Yeah, so lag is the best one because it sets up bins alongside it with multiple parallels.
Do you think, does Andy block in that case with a tiny score? With just an LI?
Well, yeah, I mean, Eric could still play bins there through the eye.
Right, so that's not even a block.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the point, is that there's not really a useful way for him to block.
You could play IN after LAG.
I mean, it's the same problem. You leave 3 U's, he plays...
But he's playing fewer tiles, so at least it takes him a little longer to go out, but you're right.
I mean,
still self-defeating.
Yeah, taking longer to go out could actually be better, since Andy can't do much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, could be more interesting than it first appeared. Yeah, at this point, if you know you can't catch up with the bingo, the whole concept of setup plays is a really interesting idea here at an end game. It's not really one that this board allows for, but sometimes you can even play right up to a triple word, one short of it, knowing that you're holding the only S or something that is the only thing that plays there. If you do it really brilliantly, you do it in a way that's impossible to block. But Knox already mentioned the best setup plays, and they're just not going to be quite enough in this case. Well, Tolar, yeah, wouldn't play all the way.
Oh, you're right. That would be a triple. Sorry.
That's all right, but there's also this other spelling of Svaraj. Those would be the only 2 6s ending in, or the only words ending in J that I think.
Oh, I didn't know you could spell with a W too. Yeah, no, I want to check. Yeah, no 7s or 8s ending with a J.
Yeah. Would have been interesting if the game had come down to something crazy like that. You think that J spot is dead, and 99.9% of the time it is. So, unless something shocking happens here, it's going to be quite close between these two. Only a game. Andy will have made up 2 games of the spread difference, or I should say the game difference between Eric over the last 2 games. Eric with 2 losses, Andy with 2 wins. Only one behind with a superior spread. Makes for a really interesting 3 games to come after lunch. Eric indeed has used most of his time, as he should.
Yeah, wonder what Andy's thinking here for how he's going to use his...
Yeah, there's so little. Ulu probably is the next play, isn't it? Through the L, if it's even that scores so little.
Wait, sorry, which L?
In lactated.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. I wonder if he can actually... I guess he could actually go out in 2. That's surprising.
Yeah, Ulu leaving uni.
He would have Ruin through the R of Bonier. I'm not sure if he's got another...
Yeah, but then
that.
With all this time, Eric's probably considered those things too, once he knows he can't bingo.
Yeah.
So that does factor in here. I mean, do you block Ulu? Do you come out a little bit better on spread if you block Ulu, so Andy doesn't have the out in 2?
I think I was assuming that Eric was going out in 2. That's if he's doing a setup or even something longer, a longer play, he would likely be going out in 2, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking, is there a dink and dunk way to make Andy need 3 turns? And
That's true.
but I suppose
Yeah.
options are lean. It's a probably minimizing spread calculation for Eric at this point, but it's worth using all your time to consider that when your spread is this close to Andy's and other competitors. The one other thing you're thinking at this point in the game, aside from setups, if you can't bingo, is the other crazy thought is extensions. Nothing's going to present itself here that I can imagine, but putting word letters out in front of Bonier, if there wasn't, in the right circumstances, extending fizz to something like fizz gig. All sorts of crazy things come to mind as you're grasping at straws here at the end of the game. One thing that's helped Andy ever since Lactated went down too is even just not having much of a parallel spot there next to it because of the C. That's limiting
That's
what
true. Yeah.
Eric can do here.
Yeah, that being an L instead of an A, if you played acetated or actuated, has been a big swing. Looks like Eric has Bing set up on his rack, maybe thinking of Bling, and then going out with LAS somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another thing that doesn't help him much, the fact that there's not a great S spot for him.
Yeah. Okay, looks like, oh, he's gonna go with Glib.
Glib scores very nicely.
Yeah, and does block that Ulu spot that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So now Andy's gotta. I mean, surely he's definitely been thinking about what he would do, but he doesn't have much time. Got to decide quickly.
I'm still ruin, leaving 2 U's, never what you want.
Yeah, I wonder. I guess Eric is trying to go out. Maybe take 2 more turns to go out rather than just with LANS. You had like he could go out with Larns, for example. It's a nice play from Andy.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's not going to give back an outplay for Eric.
No, that's
not at that spot.
That was his best option. Well done.
Yeah, Andy's traditionally great in the end game. You're usually not going to get him there if there's a way for him to secure the win.
Yeah, since he does have 2 U's, I think it's in Eric's best interest to not go out with Larns, but to play something like San alongside Uni, and then Andy will just play his U for 5, and then go out with the L somewhere else.
Yeah, you're looking at I was looking around at the high point tiles. Is there anything with Z, J, Q, or X that's available to me? But they're all kind of boxed in on this board.
Okay, looks like he's just going with Ann. Is he putting yes down? Nope.
All right, gonna leave US for next turn to hook somewhere. Bottom of the board with sad. And he'd likely to play UH, right? Isn't that his best option?
Yep. And then I think Eric actually only has 1 spot to go out.
Is sad the only place?
Wait, sorry, where are you seeing sad?
Oh, sorry, no.
He has LS, right?
LS, not US.
He's got LIS through denuding. I think that's his only spot, so would have been slightly better to play the S first. for some more points.
Mm-hmm.
But just small spread considerations at this point.
Yep. Yeah, you'd think there'd be more there with LF, but it doesn't cooperate.
Yep, assuming that LIS does come down, then our final will be 483 to 453. Andy coming out with the win. Oh, he's going with, okay. Change
Gonna
that.
score more and let Andy go out.
Yep. Let's see, where's Andy going with up top? Okay, yep.
Yeah, there's and there's US from the S and Napery, so he couldn't block Andy's remaining U if he were to do one tile at a time. So he just went with the score.
Yeah, great game here. Another close one. Eric falling on fire at 12-1 is coming back to earth a little bit. But yeah, strong play from both of them. Got some interesting phonies.
Yeah, phonies are part of the game. If you can play something plausible, it stays on the board, as both of these phonies did. They were a big part of it.
Yeah, they definitely contributed to the high scoring. Always fun to have a 900+ point game. Our last game barely got to 700, if that. So
yeah, two kind of opposite ways of how Scrabble can go. Both excellent games, well played, but a more open board versus a closed one.
Yep, and both players taking full advantage of their clocks. You see 12 and 21 seconds left there.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so we will be, I believe it's a different live stream called The Finals, but on the same NASPA Scrabble channel. So just switch over there, and we will be back in about...
Initially said 2:30, but probably closer to 2:45, I would think.
Yep, in the next probably 45 minutes or so. Yeah, so thanks for joining us, and hope to see you soon.
See you soon.